okay, consisted on the V. Alright? That is just the reason why they put the V in everything that pertains to the woman's genitalia area. Okay? And it also shaped like a cervix, okay? And by popular belief, that makes you wonder and think and sit there and know by research that there's no way that a man can ever give birth to a woman. Or to a child, period. Okay? Reason being of this fact is because the man has 8 active ribs. Okay? In medical terminology and in medical books, they're going to tell you something different. They're going to tell you something different because the reason why they tell you something different is they don't want you to actually be directly on point. Okay? Alright? Now, reason being, a man has 8 active ribs. Those active ribs, okay, of the human anatomy and the body of the middle the lower and the upper abdomen, which is in the middle. Okay? Now, that pushes up the tissues inside of the mass and the tissues inside of the male's body. And that is one reason why in that area is more masculine than a female, because they are more active, which pushes up the nerves, pushes up the tension and all the tissues. Okay? So, the man does not have an exit point for that baby to shoot out. A woman has that. Yeah, a woman has that. Okay? So, they have to go to step 2. So, now that they're going to step 2, they have to do a cesarean. They cannot do a cesarean because if they cut, they would have to have to cut in the man's lower abdomen, the very lower abdomen. If you look at a woman's belly, okay? If you look at a woman's belly, and I've seen plenty of bellies, okay, that had a C-section. All right. Now, they have to cut in the lower abdomen for the child to come out, because that is closer to the cervix area. That is right there in the opening of the cervix area. So that is where they have to take out the child. Okay. Now, even if they did go to the lower abdomen of the man, there will be more tissues. There will be more tissues in the male's abdomen than it is in the higher abdomen. Reason why? Because when us as men, when we work out, the first thing that forms in our body is the lower abdomen. When you start get the 6-pack, the 7-pack, you know, the 12-pack, you know what I mean? The lower abdomen starts to form. With the woman, that doesn't happen when she works out. The top abdomen, the top and the middle forms first. But in the man, the lower abdomen, because there's more tissues and there's more nerves. Okay? Now, by that happening, by the human anatomy of the male, if they did a cesarean to take the baby out of a male's body, it would literally kill him or ruin him for the rest of his life. Okay? You cannot research. You can have artificial tissues. So there's a restoration there in tissues. You can restore cells, but you cannot restore nerves. You cannot reserve nerves. You cannot give artificial nerves. You cannot replace nerves. That's why when most people are going brain dead, it functions to dysfunction of a discombobulated compute of the brain. When you're brain dead, you're brain dead. You cannot bring that back because most of the connection and the anatomy of the brain is followed by and also lives and breathes off of nerves. Okay? Now, there's a point proven. A male cannot have a baby. Alright? Because he will either be ruined for life or he will be subjected to the point, if he lives, he will be subjected to the point where he thought he was dead. Okay? Now, my queens, you're not women. You're not women. You are queens. You are goddesses. And it says, as you see in the quote of Psalms 82:5-8, you are earth. Because everything that grows on earth grows just like the anatomy and the growing process of the woman. When you plant seeds, don't they grow with water? The water is the fertilizer of the man. Okay? We are the fertilizer. We are the fertilizer. They have the seeds. That is why they have their menstrual cycle just about every month on the average, because they produce and reproduce at the end of the month. Okay? And then they produce again, then reproduce. Produce, then reproduce. That's why when you have intercourse with a woman, 7 days before and 7 days after, if women would calculate the time that they have a period, if you calculate 7 days before or 7 days after of the time that they had within that month, name it on the same day of that month, which it might not come that day. But it's better to do 4 to 7 days. Okay? And 4 to 7 days just to be on the safe side. That's in the most days that the woman is fertile. And the risk of her having a baby is stronger. Okay? So, when a woman has her menstrual cycle, those are the seeds. Okay? The man, we fertilize those seeds and they grow up. Okay? And they give birth to the children. Other queens and kings. Just like the earth. When you plant seeds inside of the earth, which is a definition and a description of a woman. Okay. Use the water to fertilize, which is another element. Okay. And they grow. Alright. And by the food that the woman eats when she is pregnant, the food that the woman eats gives the baby nutrients and gives them the proper skin color. Okay? Especially natural foods. Okay? And I'm going to go deep, very deep on that there. Okay? About skin color. And I'm going to go deep on how we start the black woman, which was darker than this at first, but gave birth to another race and another light, another shade of blackness, which is original, no matter what shade. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down